Welcome back to another episode of Math 101. I know how excited you all are about learning about fractions. Today we're going to focus in on multiplying fractions. So you're going to take your mixed numbers to improper fractions and utilize it here in multiplying fractions. The first one is going to be pretty easy because we've been doing it since equivalent fractions. Whenever we create an equivalent fraction, we're multiplying fractions. So you're writing down all of the steps here and through on every single slide, because every single time you see that exclamation point inside that star, that's a note page. So you're going to be writing every single note page that has that exclamation point. So the first note, how to multiply fractions. First, you're going to multiply the numerators. So in 2/5 times 3/4, the numerators get multiplied first, and so that becomes 6, 2 times 3. Second step is multiplying the denominators. So now you're going to do 5 times 4, and you're going to get 20. So your answer technically is 6/20. However, third step is always something that we need to challenge our minds with, and that is to simplify our fractions down so that way it makes it easier to understand. So 6/20 can be divided by 2/2 because 2 can go into 6 and 2 can go into 20, and so it gets broken down to 3/10. So that's the simplest form for that one. So the third step you can always reduce to challenge your mind. That is not going to be a required step that we have, but you're going to write it down into your notebooks anyway. Second, okay, now that we know how to multiply fraction by fraction, okay, we're going to build on this process, and now we're going to get a little bit harder. Now multiplying with whole numbers. So you're going to multiply a whole by a fraction, all right? So you need to write down that title as well, and then write down 5 times 3/4. So with 5 times 3/4, the first step we need to do is to turn our whole number into a fraction. So the first step is take that 5 and put it over 1. And that's really simple because 5 over 1 is the same thing as 5 wholes. Okay? And now you're going to do the exact same process that you just wrote down, which is multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. So after you place it over a whole, okay, now you multiply your numerators and denominators for the second step. So 5 times 3 is 15. And 1 times 4 is 4. Now from this, we can then follow a third step, and that is to reduce. And in this case, reducing would be converting our improper fraction, because we have a larger numerator than denominator, and turning it into a mixed number. So in this case, we would do 15 divided by 4. So 4 goes into 15 3 whole times, because 4 times 4 is 16, so that's 1 more. So 3 times 4 is 12, so that means it's 3 wholes. So it goes to 3 whole times. And if we do 15 minus 12, we get a remainder of 3, so that would be 3/4. Let me rewrite it up here. It would be 3 3/4, because we put our remainder over the original denominator. Okay? So if you wanted to reduce that, that's what it would look like. 15 over 4 would be written as a mixed number, 3 3/4. Next one. Multiplying with mixed numbers. Now, multiplying with mixed numbers gets a little bit more complicated than just multiplying by a fraction and multiplying by a whole. Now you got both the fraction and the whole in the problem, as well as another fraction. So 5 5/6 times 1/4. Well, we can't just throw the whole number over 1 and then multiply again. This time we actually use our understanding of mixed to improper, and then we can multiply. So you're going to first change this mixed number right here into an improper fraction. So convert the mixed to improper, and that would be 5 times 6 would make 30. The check mark. So we need to do the check mark here. So 5 times 6 is 30. And then add 5 makes 35. So we would have 35 over 6. Okay? And that's what that one is. 35 over 6 right there. Right? And then we rewrite the operation times 1/4. So that's how I got that first step, 35 over 6 times 1/4. And now we go back to the very first set of steps that I showed you with multiplying a fraction by a fraction, And now we just multiply straight across. So numerator times numerator, and then denominator times denominator. So that's the second step, is to multiply numerators and denominators. And so it would be 35 over 24. And once again, as you can see, this is an improper fraction. And so now we got to change this improper fraction back to a whole number, or a mixed number in this case. And so we do 35 divided by 24. And so 24 goes into 35 one whole time, with a leftover of 11 over 24. And so that's our mixed number, 1 and 11 24ths, otherwise known as 35 24ths. Now, you're going to do these three problems independently. You're going to do them on either a separate sheet of paper or in your notebook, it doesn't matter, but we are going to be going over these and checking our work to make sure that we understand how to multiply by a fraction, how to multiply a whole by a fraction, and how to multiply a mixed number by a fraction. Happy multiplying!